Hello, my name is Therese Grimm, and I work at the Department of the Army for the Army Contracting Command at Picatinny Arsenal, New Jersey. I'm here today to discuss with you my local challenge. I've identified a problem. The procurement administrative lead time in our organization for all phases of contracting has increased steadily over the past few years. This has had a negative impact on the soldier by slowing down or, in some cases, stopping the assembly of mortar and artillery rounds at the load assembly pack facilities, which causes a shortage of ammunition to the warfighter. The desired end state is to decrease cycle times by the end of the second quarter of fiscal year 2012. Halt has increased over the past few years. My manager recently said to me, "Why does it take over a year to get a contract in place?" As you can imagine, this increased cycle time has caused the requirements organization to be unhappy with our contracting group and the support that they've provided. And in addition, it has led to the soldier being short of supplies necessary to conduct battlefield activities. These delays have caused the customer to frequently utilize different contracting centers for support. This may provide immediate relief to the worker at our center, but long-term continued use of a different contracting center could eventually lead to a reduction in force in our organization, and it could possibly lower the overall grade structure. So why the increased cycle time? Our workload has increased significantly since 2001. The number of actions has increased, the value of these actions have increased, and the complexity of these actions have increased. The number of employees and the experience of these employees has not increased proportionately to our workload. Bottom line, we're doing more work with fewer resources. We have a significant amount of personnel with less than 5 years experience and a significant amount with 15+ years experience. There's very few people in between. Some would say we have inexperience leading those with no experience. I have come up with 4 alternatives or solutions to the problem at hand. 1, institute mandatory cycle times. 2, strategy changes. 3, classroom training. 4, on-the-job training. Institute mandatory cycle times. There are no halt times in our standard operating procedures, only estimates by individuals. If the PM asks for an award date, a senior contract specialist will just come up with a date based on past experience off the top of their head. This is not an accurate method and doesn't really hold anyone accountable. Average cycle times need to be developed and a formal tracking system needs to be put into place. The second solution, strategy changes. This alternative focuses on changing the acquisition strategy to fix the problem. Traditionally, our contracts were awarded to one contractor and had up to 5 years of performance. Changing our focus to an IDIQ multiple award contract would be possibly a better strategy. There would be a longer cycle time to award the contract, but there would be a decreased cycle time for issuing orders. We could even obtain approval to award contracts for 10 years to balance any time loss in the beginning of this acquisition. 3, classroom training. Since a large majority of our workforce has less than 5 years, why not provide additional classroom training at our facility to increase the speed in which interns get trained? Additional training would increase the knowledge of the workforce and cut cycle times. On-the-job experience. Implement formal on-the-job training, which would benefit each new employee or intern. Currently, we do have a mentoring system in place, but it's not formal and it tends to vary depending on who you get to be as a mentor. Each intern would say that it may not be effective depending on the mentor that they get. If a formal program would be in place, our mentors would get instruction on how to guide and instruct new interns. Interns could shadow mentors. They could learn from each other. Our knowledge base would collectively increase and reduce cycle times. I used 3 criteria for selecting the alternative recommendations. Ease of implementation. How easy will the alternative be implemented by our local command? I used effectiveness. Will this alternative be effective in reducing halt time? 3, cost. How expensive will it be? What is the impact? Each evaluation factor is weighted equally. I've provided a chart here of our evaluation criteria. Based on the factors, each alternative was assigned a rating from unacceptable to outstanding. Red was unacceptable, yellow was marginal, green was good, and blue was outstanding. As you can see here, the mandatory cycle times had an overall outstanding rating. This is easy to implement. The policy can be issued to institute cycle times into employees' workload. Effectiveness is outstanding. Employees will be evaluated against cycle times. Costs are minimal. The second, strategy changes. Overall had a good rating. There is ease of implementation, easy to explain the benefits to our customer. Effectiveness is marginal since it doesn't really provide a solution to the underlying problem of not enough resources. And the cost is minimal. Additional classroom training had an overall unacceptable rating because of the costs. Training is expensive, and because of that unacceptable rating, it was rolled up to an overall unacceptable rating. Ease of implementation and effectiveness received marginal ratings. On-the-job training overall got a marginal rating. Ease of implementation would be relatively easy. A formal program would have to be created. Effectiveness is good since the training would be effective once it would be implemented. And cost, that received a marginal rating since there's a loss of efficiency, not cost effective in the beginning. So my recommendation based on this criteria chart would be to combine the mandatory cycle times with making strategy changes to current pre-award acquisitions. This would benefit the organization as a whole. Mandatory cycle times would promote a positive change to the organizational culture over the long term, and in the short term, instituting the general strategy and focusing on IDIQ multiple award contracts would be beneficial. This concludes my discussion on my local problem. Thank you for your time.